Hello everyone, welcome to back my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. WWE superstar Giulia recently took to social media to send a message after betraying her best friend on the latest edition of NXT. It is none other than the current NXT Women's Champion, Stephanie Vaquer. At NXT Roadblock last month, Giulia and Stephanie Vaquer locked horns with their respective titles on the line. Both stars put on an incredible display of action inside the squared circle, but the bout ultimately ended in Vaquer's favor, and she became a double champion, holding both the Women's North American Championship and the NXT Women's Championship. Since then, the beautiful madness had not been seen on TV. On this week's NXT, Giulia made a surprise return and seemingly helped her best friend, Stephanie Vaquer, during her brawl with Jordynne Grace and Jada Parker. However, much to everyone's surprise, the star turned on Vaquer, hitting her with the Northern Lights bomb and setting her eyes on the Women's Championship once again. The beautiful madness has now taken to X, Twitter, to send a message, making it clear that she wanted the title more than her friendship with Vaquer. After becoming a double champion at NXT Roadblock by defeating Giulia, Stephanie Vaquer took to Instagram to send a message. The star wrote that she made history with her friend at Madison Square Garden, highlighting her 2 championships. Check out her Instagram post below. Before Giulia's return, either Jordynne Grace or Jada Parker was supposed to wrestle Stephanie Vaquer for the WWE NXT Women's Championship. However, after the betrayal, Vaquer asked Ava to book a fatal 4-way match with the 3 names mentioned above at Stand and Deliver. The air was thick with tension. The WWE ring lights flickered, casting long shadows across the arena as the crowd buzzed with anticipation. The roar of the audience was deafening, but it was a sound Giulia had grown accustomed to. Yet, as she stood in the middle of that ring, clutching the WWE Women's Championship belt, there was no sense of victory in her heart. There was no triumph. There was only regret, a deep, gnawing sense of betrayal. Her best friend, her partner in crime for years, Layla had been there with her through thick and thin. They had shared countless hours in the gym, traveled together to every show, and lived and breathed the WWE dream together. But tonight, in front of thousands of screaming fans, everything had changed. Giulia had taken Layla's dream, her WWE title shot, and crushed it under the weight of her own ambition. The betrayal had been swift. Layla had been on the verge of winning, had almost pinned their opponent, but at the last moment, Giulia had intervened. A low blow, a quick roll-up pin, and just like that, the WWE Women's Championship was hers. Layla had looked at her in shock, and for a moment, time seemed to slow. The crowd was stunned, but the whispers of betrayal were louder than any cheer. The title was now in her hands, but the victory felt hollow. Giulia knew she would never be able to look at the championship the same way again. The truth weighed heavy on her chest, and as she walked back to the locker room, she couldn't escape the voice in her head telling her that she had just thrown away the one real friendship she had ever known. In the privacy of her dressing room, Giulia stood alone in front of the mirror, staring at the reflection that stared back at her. The WWE belt glimmered around her waist, but the gold was tarnished by the blood on her hands, blood that had been spilled by her betrayal. A message needed to be sent. It was the only thing that could ease the pain in her heart. She had to explain herself somehow. With trembling hands, Giulia pulled out her phone and opened the messaging app. She hesitated for a moment, unsure of the words that could possibly make sense of what she had done. There was no excuse, no way to make it right. But Layla needed to hear from her. She owed her that much. Giulia, I never wanted to hurt you. I never thought it would end up like this. I don't know how to explain what happened. It was a choice, a split-second decision, and I don't know if I can even justify it to myself, let alone you. But I needed this. I've always needed this. She paused before hitting send, the guilt almost suffocating her. The thought of Layla reading those words, of knowing the depth of her betrayal, filled Giulia with a sense of dread. What had she done? But she couldn't erase it now. The damage had been done. She had taken the title, and she had destroyed a friendship in the process. Giulia, you were my best friend, Layla. I still love you, but this was something I had to do. I've always been afraid of failure. I've always been afraid of not being enough. I thought I needed you, but maybe I needed this more. And I know you'll hate me for it. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even know if I can forgive myself. She paused again, her thumb hovering over the keyboard. What else could she say? How could she even begin to explain the pain inside her? The words didn't feel like enough. They never would be. Giulia, I didn't mean for it to be like this. You were supposed to be my partner, my sister. But I was scared. Scared that if I didn't take it now, it would slip away forever. I don't expect anything from you, but I needed you to know why. With a shaky breath, Giulia hit send. The message sent with a small delivered mark beneath it. But she knew deep down that sending a message wouldn't be enough to fix what she had done. She had taken something irreplaceable. The trust of her best friend, and no words, no title could ever replace that. As she stared at the screen, waiting for a reply, the door to the dressing room suddenly creaked open. A shadow fell across the threshold, and Giulia instinctively turned to face it. For a moment she thought it was Layla standing there, ready to yell, to scream, to demand an explanation. But it wasn't Layla. It was someone else. It was Maria, the WWE Hall of Famer, and the last person Giulia had expected to see at this moment. Maria had seen Giulia's rise to the top, had watched her evolve from a struggling rookie to a champion. They had never been close, but Maria had always kept a watchful eye on her. It was the way of the veterans in the locker room, always looking out for the young ones, even when they didn't ask for help. Giulia, Maria said, her voice calm but firm. You okay? Giulia's lips trembled. Am I okay? She repeated, bitter laughter escaping her throat. I just betrayed my best friend for a title. What part of that sounds okay? Maria stepped into the room, closing the door behind her. She didn't sit down, didn't approach Giulia, but she didn't leave either. She just stood there, waiting. After a few moments of silence, Maria spoke again. You're not the first one to make a decision like that, she said quietly. You won't be the last. In this business, you'll find that loyalty can be a luxury in dreams. They come with a price. Giulia shook her head, still staring at the phone in her hand. I didn't think it would feel like this. I didn't think it would hurt this much. Maria was silent for a moment, then slowly walked over to the mirror, her reflection joining Giulia's in the glass. You can't take it back now. That's the thing about decisions like this. Once you make them, they're yours. But you can decide what you do next. Giulia glanced up at Maria's reflection. And what do you think I should do next? I've ruined everything. Layla won't even speak to me after this. Yeah, Maria said, her voice gentle but firm. But if you care about her, you'll find a way to fix it. That's the hard part. You've taken the title, but you've also taken a part of her. You want to keep the title? You want to keep what's left of your friendship. Then you're going to have to make a choice about what comes next. Giulia didn't respond right away. Her thoughts were a whirlwind, conflicting emotions battling each other in her mind. Layla had always been there for her, through every loss, every setback, every moment of doubt. Now Giulia had to face the possibility that she had just lost her forever. Her phone buzzed in her hand, breaking her from her thoughts. It was a message from Layla. Layla, I don't know what you thought you were doing, but I can't look at you the same way anymore. You made your choice, and now you're going to have to live with it. Giulia's heart sank as she read the words. There was no anger in them, no expletives or name-calling, just a deep, aching sense of finality. Layla was done. The pain of that finality cut through Giulia like a knife. She stared at the screen, the tears threatening to fall. She had made her choice, but now, as the weight of it all hit her, she didn't know if she could live with it. Yes, that's it then, Giulia whispered to herself. Maria turned to her, an almost knowing look in her eyes. No, it's not, but it's up to you now. Giulia looked up at her, a wave of realization crashing over her. She had made a terrible mistake. But maybe, just maybe, there was still a way to make things right. Even if it meant giving up the title. Even if it meant swallowing her pride and begging for forgiveness. Giulia glanced at the mirror one last time. The WWE Women's Championship still hung around her waist, but in that moment, it felt heavier than ever before. "Thanks," she whispered to Maria, her voice barely audible. Maria nodded, then left the room, leaving Giulia to face the consequences of her actions. Giulia took a deep breath, wiped the tears from her eyes, and picked up her phone again. She knew what she had to do next. It wouldn't be easy, but it was the only chance she had left. "Giulia Leila, I'm so sorry. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just need you to know that I never meant to hurt you. You were my sister, and I've lost that. I'll do whatever it takes to make things right, even if that means giving up this title. I just need you to know that I was wrong." She hit send and waited, but this time, when the message delivered, Giulia didn't feel the same overwhelming sense of regret. There was still pain, still a long road ahead, but at least now she had taken the first step toward redemption. And maybe, just maybe, there was still hope for what had been broken. Thanks for watching this video, and please subscribe our WWE official YouTube channel for more update news.